all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. An acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp. Yeah.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. My name is Casper Leach. Big shout out to all of my friends up in Canada, and thank you to KDK Distributors for being nice enough to give us a grant to keep us loud, proud, and strong. It is Monday, Healthy Mondays, and on Healthy Mondays, we put a spotlight on the amazing organization known as Patients Out of Time. And today, one of the co-founders of that illustrious group, Byrne, is on the program as the joint host. Al, thank you for taking time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time to introduce your folks to Patients Out of Time. I appreciate it very much, Casper.
Well, you guys do a fantastic job and giving care and love to those who need it and educating many members of the professional caregiving community. It's an honor to be in the same foxhole in this war on drugs with you. Also, we have a member of the NFL on the program today. Al, I'll let you and your member of Patients at a Time say hello.
Okay, well, we need to make sure that we're talking about the right sport here, Casper. Our guest today is very much involved with the National Hockey League.
Okay.
Although the National Football League, all the football leagues have the same trouble as the hockey players do, and that is head injuries, among other injuries. All of these injuries cause pain, but the most serious problem that these athletes are dealing with these days, or one of the most, but certainly everywhere, is head injuries. These are the same type of head injuries that we're all familiar with, that veterans who are involved in explosions suffer. It's called TBI, or traumatic brain injury. Now, our guest today is Riley. Do you want to introduce yourself a little, Riley, to the listeners, please?
Sure. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Riley Cotay. I'm assistant coach of the Adirondack Phantoms in the American Hockey League. I'm a former Philadelphia Flyers hockey player. Played for 4 years there and about 7 years in the organization. Head trauma and head shots and concussions are a huge problem in hockey now, with the guys being bigger and stronger, faster than ever, and the speed of the game has increased, and head injuries and concussions are skyrocketed for sure.
You're a Canadian, are you not?
I am. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yeah, I could catch the accent. I'm from Massachusetts, so we can swap accents on this show here. But
no kidding.
The head injury. I was a pretty good high school hockey player, and my son-in-law played in the NHL for the Rangers for 7 or 8 years. And he has discussed with me head injuries in the NHL, including those that are the professional boxers in the NHL who really take a beating. But this is a problem. You're a coach. You see this all the way down into grammar school, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously in a physical contact sport, it's definitely one of the major things you see a lot of. And now with the size of the guys and the players and how fast the game is and how powerful they are, and they've increased, and they've opened up the game with some rule changes in the last few years, and it's definitely a problem. There's no question about it.
You know, when I played back in the '60s, I was a defenseman on a high school team that went 19-0. We were pretty good in New England, and I wore a very, very small head protector. I had a little cushion on the front and a little cushion on the back. Now I see these guys in a real helmet. Hasn't that helped at all?
Well, I think it's helped a little bit, but a lot of these head blows, especially at the NHL level, they don't wear a cage or anything like that. So a lot of the impact's coming from the side of the jaw, bottom of the jaw, side of the head kind of hits. So the helmet really doesn't protect them. But when you're talking about 220, 25-pound guys running into each other at, I'm not sure the exact speed of a full skating hockey player, but you're talking some serious collisions sometimes, and guys not being aware or paying attention, getting hit blindsided. There's a lot of trauma going on there, and there's a lot of power and force. So no matter how thick of a helmet you have, I just don't think that it's going to protect it, to tell you the truth.
So what is it? A guy gets hit in the head now. What do they do? In your league, a guy takes a blow like that, you just let him skate? What happens?
Well, now there's so much liability with doctors and people, wanting to, let the guy play. So now it's such a big deal where you have like these baseline tests. So if you get your bell rung, and you're feeling kind of foggy the next day, you have to, retake your baseline test to see if your numbers have changed. But again, it's the doctor's discretion, but based on how the player feels. But there is a lot of protocols that go into it. But again, there's a lot of liability. No doctor wants to be the guy, clearing the player and then him having more issues down the road. So there is a lot of almost politics involved in it. But there's a lot of protocol that goes into it too.
Well, it sounds to me that you're saying that the pressure from the league must be to keep the player playing regardless of injury. Is that right?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's a pretty serious subject when you're talking about a player's brain. But you know how professional sports works. They're all men, and they're all they want to play the game, the sport they love. They want to get back out there. So sometimes they don't use a whole lot of intelligence. They'll maybe still have some symptoms and they'll come back too soon. But I think a lot of guys are starting to get, better information and better guidance, per se, from, different people to really make sure that you're symptom-free before you come back, because everyone knows that, it could take one shot the next game and then you're back to square one, not even worse. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing though is again, I want to say again to the public at large out there that this can happen in the Pee Wee League. These kids take a hit, and they're little kids, and they get up and they go around, and they don't even know they've been hurt. I can almost understand why some politicians dreamed up the idea we're going to cancel football in America. How absurd! But I think that the notion here is that this is sort of a risk you take when you play sports. I mean, I always thought I played football at Notre Dame, rugby at Notre Dame, and hockey and baseball in high school, and I always thought part of the game there was to get hurt and to get up and go on, as you have said. But I also thought it was part of the risk that you took for the enjoyment of the sport. So, I mean, I can't see canceling sport for this. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I 100% agree with it. I mean, ever since I was a kid, and every kid, especially in the hockey world, you want to be a professional hockey player. You want to make the NHL. So everyone knows going into being a hockey player what it entails. No different than football. It's like you're involved in a physical sport. But that's the price you pay when you want to, be a professional athlete. You want to be good at something. You know the risks. I've had more injuries than I can even count. But I knew going into it, I signed up for that. Like, that's what I signed up for. But I think it's absolutely absurd that anybody even consider removing football out of, kids' high schools and this stuff. And say, what are you going to do, nerf the world? You know what I mean? It's like you're responsible for your own body. Why would politics ever get involved in your own choices? If you're only hurting yourself, that's their opinion. But all these athletes, that's what they believe. That's what they love. I love playing hockey. I did it since I was 4 years old. So I knew that there was risks of, broken ankle or blown knees or separated shoulders or concussions. But every injury I had, you heal and you battle through it and you keep playing. You don't even think twice about it. That's the breed. That's what pro sports. That's what sports is all about.
Right. I like that. What are you going to do? Nerf the world? That was a pretty cool expression. Now, I noticed that there are some problems in our sports where professional teams will single out specific good players that when they come against them in a game or in a match, they will deliberately go out of their way to hurt that particular player to get that player off the field. And, of course, when they get caught, there's fines, slaps on the wrist, and everybody says it didn't happen, and turns their back, all that crap. Is that going on there in hockey, where you got guys who are playing a little more rough than they should, shall we say?
Oh, I think so. I think anytime you have a team sport, there's always, obviously superstars in each team, and those are the targets. Football, like you target certain players. I'm sure there has been, and I know there is, conversations of actually putting, money on someone's head and actually trying to hurt them. But hockey is a pretty respectful sport, even though there is still stuff like that goes on. If you're a superstar, if you have a chance to run the guy, you're going to run him. But not. At the end of the day, it's not to really hurt the guy. It's to create that extra room and respect in the game. But hockey has a sense of accountability where I was actually an enforcer, so I was kind of the policeman of the team. So if any of my players got run or cheap-shotted, they pretty much pushed me over the bench, and I had to, take care of it. Either, go after who did it and square up with that and do that. So hockey actually has a sense of accountability. That's why it's different than any other sport. Football doesn't really have it because, there's no fighting, there's none of that in hockey. You can self-police yourself in hockey, so, but it definitely goes on. If you're playing against the best player in the world, he is the target. You have to isolate him, you have to check him hard, and you have to be hard on that guy. So that's the sport. That's no different than any other team sport. You pay more attention to the better players, for sure.
Well, then, with that said, is it safe for kids to be part of a situation of that nature, where if they become a good high school player, a handful of really inept, really thoughtless hooligans, so to speak, go out of the way to break his leg and break his arm and really screw up his scholarship and his future?
Well, that's what teammates are for.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've been on a team, you'll know that that's a very hard thing to accomplish, because your teammates will notice what's going on very quickly, and they will return in kind. And it might get a little brutal, but it'll stop.
Yeah, you're all in it together there. Your teammates will stick up for you, but again, if you're the best player on a team, expect to be the target, and expect the guys are coming at you. So that should be the fuel for the superstar. You know what I mean? If you don't know that guys are coming after you, you're in the wrong business, and you're not smart enough to figure that out. So if you're the best player on the team, expect it.
Yeah, Bobby Orr and the rest of them survived.
When he put forward that legislation. Now, I understand that utilizing medical marijuana can help people who are suffering with some complications that come from sports injuries. Is that correct?
Yes. I think I'm probably the expert on that the very clear, unambiguous answer is yes. And that information comes mainly from experimentation or self-medication of Vietnam veterans, Korean War veterans, World War II, Afghanistan, Iraqi, and every other place these guys have been blown up. Yeah, it definitely helps with traumatic brain injury. I don't know how much time we got right now on this section, but just this past April, Patients Out of Time had a conference in Arizona, and we had the Assistant Minister of Health from Israel give a presentation to the attendees on the use of cannabis on TBI on soldiers, men and women soldiers of the Israeli army. Very successful treatments. The treatments were duplicated by the Czechoslovakian army, who also has troops in NATO forces in these countries. The deal here is that what they found, however, is that the quicker cannabis is administered after the head blow, the better off the reaction is. And I know Riley wrote me a note, and you were saying, Riley, that you believed it was the anti-inflammatory properties of cannabis, and I think that science agrees with you. A blow to the head is like a blow to anywhere where you get a bruise and the blood rushes in, but in the head there's no free place for it to go, controlled by the skull. You want to keep that swelling down as much as possible. And so there are people that I work with now, the doctors and scientists that are working on this, is they're recommending, for instance, if you have a high school team out there, the trainer should have cannabis in his medical jacket to give to a player who had a head blow immediately on the field. So we're going to come a long way. That of course, is going to meet with incredible opposition, even though it's proper medical technology. But we can discuss that later.
I can't tell you the number of people who would do a double take and freak out when a high school kid gets a bad head injury and the coach pops out a joint and says, "Here, you need this."
No, it won't be a joint. What it will be an administration of a non-psychoactive compound in the cannabis plant called cannabidiol, which we've talked about before. We refer to it as CBD. It has all the therapeutic properties needed to deflate the inflammatory notion of the blow without any psychoactive activity. In other words, no high. It's just medical effect.
An edible.
It could be an edible, or it could be sprayed into the athlete's mouth so that it will be absorbed in the tongue and the inside of the mouth. That would be the quickest, easiest way to do it. I just actually tried a product like that last week. It was cinnamon flavored. It was great.
Cool. Well, we are down to about a minute in this segment. Then when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off, talking with a National Hockey League assistant coach who knows firsthand what a pain in the neck, pain in the neck it can be to have to deal with injuries on the field. And our joint host, Patience at a Time co-host and also joint founder. We'll be right back after a great song about how wonderful marijuana is here at Time for Hemp.
Some wicked high grader from Gourmet Fire and Impress. You want to lick? See the chalice happy burn. Speaking happy burn. Turn. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. How ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. When me sing again, keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. How ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Turn. Wait there, yes me have to crap it. Say it's a bad habit, but it make me fly like a rocket. Too much of anything will make you an addict. Yes, me feel stress when me no have it. Come on, y'all look good. Like say a boy born in rapid. Yes, smell the 250 back me up in me pocket. 260 gun, want me plug in a socket. Under me Guinness and me weed me and walk it, yo. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Shiny man a thing. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Road boy from overseas, we no care, we no matter. This we be get flatter, man a real tapper. Big Mac double whopper, original showstopper. No say man a no whopper, but can't say man a no chatter. Light up we big it, make it bun down proper. On the time we real root boy used to real chopper. This the king blow, your head pan a platter. Smoke a split and relax, man you too lava lava. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Who don't feel it to me? Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. When we light up me chalice, tell me don't fear no malice. I'm a trouble and gone. When we light up me bang in a Buckingham Palace. Good for every Tom, Dick and Harris. Good for every Big Shell and Alice. From London to New York to Paris. Ganja make you feel good and spin like Ferraris. Room. Ballet the master Paris. China man a real ganja man. Me now go parry no cigarettes no. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Shiny man a thing. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slipping out the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365. We keep it alive. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man that puts you sleeping at the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. When we sing again, keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man that puts you sleeping at the air. And I wear it like you just don't care.
Yeah, baby. That's what we're talking about. Come out of the closet, be loud, be proud, let everybody know that you are a medical marijuana user. And if they don't like it, tell them that you don't give a puck. Get it? I don't give a puck. We're talking hockey today. Ha ha. My joint host today, Al Byrne from Patience at a Time. And we have on the program an NHL assistant coach, Riley. I tell you, there's a lot of injuries there in hockey. I understand that sometimes people also consider utilizing medical marijuana as a performance enhancer. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if I've ever heard of it used as a performance enhancer, but I would like to see guys get off painkillers when they're sore, because there's been a lot of obviously drug addiction. 3 guys last year died. 2 of them directly related to painkillers, Oxycontins, and just prescription drugs. So there's obviously a lot of pain, and it goes on in hockey, a lot of bumps and bruises and injuries and surgeries. And anytime you get prescribed a highly addictive, opiate prescription drug, I mean, it's destined for failure, and a lot of guys get caught up in it, and it leads to a lot of different problems. So as far as performance enhancer, I don't know about that at all, but as far as like helping guys with pain management, I could definitely be on the same page with that for sure.
All right, now, Alan, you got a couple more questions. I'll just hush up here.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Robbie, what is the painkiller of choice in the NHL from the docs?
Well, I believe it's Percocet or something on that level, depending on what you're dealing with. Obviously. Not every surgery is equal. Some are, meniscus tear is more of like an easy surgery compared to like a hip labrum surgery, something like that. So obviously the amount and the dosage would be increased. I've been prescribed. I averaged like a surgery and a half every season I played, and it was usually in the Percocet range there for sure.
You had a surgery every year you played?
Oh, over that, yeah. Average a surgery and a half every year, probably, yeah.
Wow. Now, we were talking about head injury, but which of course is painful, and now we're talking about all kinds of other injuries which are painful, and we're talking about prescription drugs. Let's move to cannabis, because that's where I come in with Patients at a Time. First of all, I don't know. Is the American Hockey League, the NHL, what's their position on players using cannabis?
Well, at the NHL level, we do get drug tested. I did get drug tested. I'm obviously no longer playing, but there is 2 or 3 times a year there is mandatory team drug tests, and they test for a wide range of obviously street drugs and then performance enhancers. Performance enhancing drugs. You get tested positive, you're looking at a 25-game suspension, and then street drugs would be, depending on what street drug you test positive for, would be a visit to into the program, substance abuse program, but no loss of pay. But you do get drug tested for it. I'm not sure how depth they actually test for street drugs, but it definitely is a test. So
okay, but you're putting cannabis in the definition of a street drug.
Well, yeah, based on the categories, obviously by federal government, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to be clear on that. Okay, so how about the American Hockey League? What do they do?
There's no drug tests in the American Hockey League.
For anything?
For anything, no.
Okay. Did you play in college in Canada, or did you skip right to the pros? How'd you get there?
I played junior hockey in Canada in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan for 4 years as major junior Western Hockey League.
All right, so you've been around. then or now? What's the drug program there on cannabis? I mean, you just told me the American Hockey League players, as I understand it, could use cannabis as a pain control, and the league would basically just not know it or ignore it. Is that right?
I guess so. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I mean, you could definitely do whatever you wanted to in the American Hockey League and get away with it. But again, it's obviously it's an illegal substance, and right. I mean, in my position, I can't be giving that kind of advice, even though I would really like to. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for being that honest. Yeah. I guess what comes to mind is alcohol.
Oh yeah.
What's it look like in your background as a player, and what's it look like now as a coach when you look at your team?
Well, I think alcohol is obviously the most socially acceptable drug out there, and when you mix a bunch of Canadian hockey players go hand in hand, I think the beer comes along with it. So, connect the dots on that one. But I would assume that drinking in hockey, as well as any other sports and just society in general, it is what it is, and everyone knows the pollution and damage that booze causes, from physical to mental to just a family affair and family estate, stuff like that too. But the list goes on of all the effects of it. So, but
it's used a lot for pain, is it not?
Well, I mean, I guess indirectly it is. I mean, your body's bruised up and you're sore. I think the first thing guys want to do is go for a pop after the game, and I guess it's in a sense therapeutic, where they're kind of unwinding, but also I guess in a sense it is pain management, but not the proper one, anyways.
Yeah, well, I hear that, but I mean, I do this. I go out and chop wood, and I come back in and pop a beer. I'll tell you. Look, you mentioned to me in conversations we've had in the past that these fellas that you mentioned last year in this conversation here that have passed on, two, I guess it was from some sort of prescription drug use. I believe I recall the other one was some alcohol. These folks were all retired, were they not? Or am I correct?
No, they were all current players.
Oh, they were all current players.
They're all current players in the NHL. Yeah, they were actually, ironically, all tough guys and enforcers. So they kind of gave them exactly.
What's your prognosis?
Oh, I think it was very ironic and a coincidence that all three landed up being enforcers and fighters in the NHL. I think that was, but I mean, the problem that they faced is it gave the NHL a black eye, because it was three guys in one summer, all the same role. It just looks bad, but it's a problem in society, in all sports, and everywhere. No matter which job you're in, there is prescription drug abuse and there's drug abuse. And it just so happens it happened and it got magnified at the NHL level and the enforcer role. So now they've been really putting a focus on removing fighting out of hockey and this and that, which is, I mean, hockey has been around since it's been around. Fighting has been a part of it because of the accountability, the self-policing. So I mean, I think it's just ironic, and it's unfortunate, really.
Well, they're not seeking a solution. That's a Band-Aid.
Exactly.
Exactly right. Solution is to deal with everybody's head trauma, whether you're the enforcer or the center that just gets whacked into the boards. I mean, now I mentioned that my son-in-law had played for the NHL for some 7 or 8 years, ending up as a New York Ranger. And I asked him to do some investigative work, and he talked to a number of folks that are still very friendly with him at the NHL coach level and even in the Olympic area. And all of them agreed, asked independently, they all said one thing, and I'd like to get your feed on this, Riley. They said that they did not think that hockey management, either in the Olympics or the NHL, would pay much attention to seeking out cannabis as a possible remedy for these pain issues, including head injuries, but that they thought that the emphasis and the onus should be put on those medical doctors that you mentioned earlier and the trainers that you folks have to deal with or that help you along every day. What's the chances of that? Are those guys organized? Are the professional medical doctors in some kind of unit that would actually listen? Or are your friends dreaming? I mean, these are guys that are your colleagues right now that my son-in-law talked to.
Yeah, you know what? I think when you're talking about introducing cannabis as treatment, I think you're fighting obviously an uphill battle. You're fighting the beast, and right now, it's especially the way the medical system is it's kind of a foreign treatment for the most part. Obviously, different states have different laws there, but they're so set in their ways, so by the book, and you know what I mean. It's all like the medical system. It's nothing more than just like by the book, like I said. So you have to really, really have a nice presentation to even just open some of these guys' mind, especially since a lot of these management, they're old school guys and they're old school ways that have a hard time changing the way they believe and whatever they believe on cannabis in general. But as far as like doctors prescribing, I know the one guy that actually passed away last summer was he was prescribed a bunch of different painkillers from a bunch of different doctors. So there was obviously an irresponsible job done by, well, not only one doctor, a bunch of them, but not doing their research. And obviously the guy was highly addicted to these things, and he kept getting them and getting them and getting them. So yes, there has to be more of a focus on controlling the substance. And obviously when you're dealing with a highly addictive substance is really, really monitoring these guys, because what happens when you give somebody something addictive? You get addicted. I mean, it's no secret there. So it's just, but obviously cannabis is not addictive, and I mean I can go on days on that, but it's again you're presenting an illegal substance that it's been smeared for how many years and changing people's opinions on it. So I mean, some people, if you approach them, they might just dismiss you right away as soon as you bring up the word cannabis. You're crazy. So I mean, it is definitely an uphill battle, but I do 100% agree it needs to be addressed.
Listen.
Well, one thing I got to address here is paying our bills and meeting our budget. And I want to remind people to go to timeforhemp.com and click on the banners and let our sponsors know that you heard about them here on the big broadcast. Now, I also want to remind people that tomorrow we're going to be saluting our friends up in Canada. They are also fans of hockey. And so with that said, everybody take time for hemp.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
Waging war back from my computer, trying to end and dispel this horrible information that's being put out by our government. You must know that prohibition is a horrible, horrible thing, and it keeps people from having their necessary medications, which is what we're discussing today with my joint host, Al Byrne from Patients Out of Time, and our NHL coach, here on Time for Hemp. Al, I'll let you take it.
Hey, Riley, I'm wondering how your physical condition is now. You've been beating yourself up since you were 4 years old. What's the end result?
To tell you the truth, I'm actually healthier and better shape than I've ever been. I figured it out and had an awakening, and I'm definitely on the right path. Just big into health and nutrition. My sister is. I've watched my sister remove all her MS symptoms, and not only that, asthma and allergies, just through diet alone. And I'm on the same path. I've transformed my body, my mind, and I feel great.
Cool. That's good to hear. That is great to hear. I'm curious. I read a wonderful book many years ago. Maybe you've caught it too. A wonderful sports book about National Football League by an N named Peter Gent called North Dallas 40. Did you ever read that?
I did not know.
Okay. Well, he was a first class receiver in the NFL and in college, of course. And he starts off the day when he wakes up before he goes to see his trainer in the Whirlpool Baths by lighting up a doobie. That just to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why that. And I talked to my son-in-law, and he said, Al, it just wasn't there. Cannabis wasn't in the locker rooms. In all the years I was there, I didn't find it around. The guys weren't using it. I wonder why not. Do you know why not?
Well, I think I would just think the biggest reason was just the fact that it's illegal, and then the alcohol is around because it's legal and it's socially acceptable. I think I do think guys still do it. I think it's just more under wraps because it is, at the end of the day, it is an illegal substance. So guys are just very careful of just just misconceptions of what people think, and you don't want to send the wrong message. If anybody finds out, it's like, oh, he's dealing with a illegal narcotic. So I think it's under wraps more so because of that, not necessarily because people actually think that it's bad for you. I think that people are somewhat not educated, but I think they have some sort of common sense with that because you know how you feel from booze the next day, and you know how you feel from smoke the next day. So do the math on that,
Yeah, well, I agree with you. And hockey players travel more than football players. You guys are moving city to city, Canada to U.S. You're going through customs and bag checks and all kinds of stuff. So it would be the legal aspect of it would be more. Or as a football player, he could stay in his hometown for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Well,
exactly.
the other thing I'm wondering about is where do we go from here? In your opinion, as a pro, you've been very pessimistic about hockey management. You're pretty much pessimistic about the medical folks that deal with the players. Is it just that we have to change the laws of the land in order to affect the different hockey leagues? Do we have to do that, or is there? Are the players? I think I've asked you this question, so I know the answer, but please repeat it. The fans want to know. The people that are listening here, hockey fans all over the world that are listening to this stuff, want to know. What are the players doing about this? I mean, there's a players' association. Do they know about this? Would they be interested? Would they care? Would they stand up and say, "Hey, we want these guys to have an option"? What do you think?
Well, I would hope they would be open to the idea. Anyways, at least listen and hear it out. But they're definitely looking around, asking a lot of questions, and there has to be some answers here because it's a serious problem. Like I said before, it is in hockey, it is in every other sport, and it's in society. So I think once you rearrange the whole system and you rearrange this web that they've created, that it kind of sorts itself out. But I mean that's just including like highly addictive chemically made drugs and substituting with Mother Nature. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. It's like, am I the crazy one to think that that's right? I mean, you're obviously on the same plan there too, but like you're trying to convince them, you're trying to convince people that what the system is wrong and it needs to be changed. So it's hard to do. It's hard to change the way people think, and they have their opinions and their set ideas, and then to boot, you're introducing an illegal substance to them. You know what I mean? That they have this preconceived notion on it being smeared and being bad for you. So, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough battle, and obviously you know that you've been dealing with it for years and years, and I mean, there's a reason why after this many years of prohibition that not enough people are still not educated on it, and there needs to be more education. People need to know about this everywhere, in sports, in society.
Another thing that comes to my mind, and you're my resident expert right now because you've been in both worlds. Do the Canadians feel different about this down here in the lower 48? I mean, the Yanks are nuts. We got this war on drugs that is friggin' insane. Are the Canadians what do you guys think?
I think Canadians are just naturally more liberal and just. I think it's more socially acceptable in Canada. Here, you're looking at serious jail time, and it's just a lot stricter here, and but I mean, back home, I guess it's just like a cooler attitude about it. No one really talks about it or makes a big deal about it. Here, it's like it's the end of the world when you talk about marijuana or cannabis. You know what I mean? It's like whoa, that's a foreign plant. But little do they know, it's been around since the start of time. If you're religious, God created all things on earth. So what's changed? Like what's changed since 1937? And again, it's just opening your eyes and waking up.
God probably didn't make a mistake, I mean, he did everything else pretty good. Why did he make a mistake?
He set it up pretty good. I mean, he set you up for success, and we've set ourselves up for failure.
Right, he even figured out how that someday there'd be a sport called hockey, right?
Exactly. He's a smart man.
Yes.
We've just turned our back on it. So
yeah, it is still is that correct? There are no women in professional hockey at this time as players?
No, there isn't. No, there has been a couple that have played a couple pro games, but as of right now, there's none. No.
Really? Huh. Okay. Women have done pretty well in almost all sports, but hockey doesn't seem to be their forte.
Well, I mean, there are some really good women hockey players. Don't get me wrong. It's just I think it's just the physical difference between the two. I mean, the size of the guys at the pro level, or just strength and power wise. I mean, there's just no match physically. So that would be the only thing. But as far as skill level, there's some pretty good women hockey players out there, and they play, at the Olympic level and in different tournaments and stuff like that. So it's competitive. It's just not physical, Yeah,
I watched them on the Olympics. They were sensational, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they really are.
When you played, Raleigh?
Well, the biggest I ever got was 220, but that was too big, and I'm 6'1". But I got some bad advice that got me that size. I was a little bit heavier than I should have been, but I usually played around 212, 215 around there.
Oh, you're a pretty big guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my old life. Now I'm a buck 95.
Oh, you got a six-pack ab, do you now, huh?
Oh, I did, yeah. I actually I transformed my body. I'm about 6% body fat less, so I've turned my life around just diet-wise and doing the right thing. So. Okay,
well, that's great. Well, I really appreciate you being with us today. It was interesting to everything you said. I found pretty fascinating, really. And I hope you and I and Mary Lynn and Patients Out of Time can conjure up some way to move in the future and maybe get somebody opening some doors and listening to us. What do you think?
No, that sounds good. I mean, that's exactly what needs to happen. It's just you're exactly right. You need to find someone to listen, and that will happen. But it's a process, as you know, as everything is. So. Right.
Well, the science is there to back us up.
To meet with you and chat with you as well. Do you have any websites you want to give a spotlight on, or any events that are coming up that you want to let people know about?
Are you talking to me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have a nonprofit organization called the Hemp Heals Foundation, and it's just to create awareness, more so focusing on industrial hemp and just kind of helping people understand there is a difference between the two, but nonetheless that the plant is God's gift. But hemphealsfoundation.com, and it's just kind of promoting a healthy, holistic lifestyle, incorporating superfoods like hemp seeds and hemp oil and stuff like that to increase a higher quality of life. So that's what I got.
Awesome. And what's the URL again? Hempheals.com?
Hemphealsfoundation.com.
Hemphealsfoundation.com. And Al, I know you've got a great website you want to put a spotlight on.
Well, yeah, as always, it's medicalcannabis.com, and all of this kind of information about head injuries, TBI, anti-inflammatory, properties of cannabis, etc., the endocannabinoid system, CBDs, it's all there.
And remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
Take another look and spend some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for help! Yeah!
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio. Please share us with your friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Henderson.
We don't inherit this earth from our fathers. It's borrowed from our children. I'm a farmer's son. I grew up on a dairy farm. And I was fortunate. I had hundreds of hectares of natural forest, natural bush to wander, to explore, to interact with, to grow and share. And our planet Earth is a plant-based planet. It's 4.5 billion years old. It has a population of 7 billion. And plants grow everywhere. Plants even grow under the sea. And humans and plants have a very close symbiotic relationship. As plants breathe out oxygen, humans breathe in oxygen. And as humans breathe out carbon dioxide, plants breathe in carbon dioxide. So there's a very strong symbiotic relationship there of service. And the history of humans on the planet is 10,000 years. So for 10,000 years, humans have lived in this plant-based environment, lived and evolved in nature's way in our environment, with clean air, clean food and clean water that was passed on from generation to generation. So for 500 generations, our ancestors lived in a plant-based world. They worked with these plants to create their life. They clothed themselves with their plants. Their food was plants. Their medicine was plants. They built houses from plants. They had a plant-based lifestyle via a plant-based currency. So they had a plant-based economy. They traded, shared, all their consumer goods were plant-based. Their economies were plant-based. And what was the most fascinating plant for that 10,000 years? The most amazing plant, the champion of all plants, was industrial hemp. So just hold that thought. for a moment. For 10,000 years, 500 generations, industrial hemp, the most fantastic plant. And then 300 years ago, roughly 60 generations only, we found oil, another fascinating substance on this planet. With oil and our creativity, we created our lifestyle around this substance. It's in our clothes, it's in our food, it's in our medicine. Possibly the seats you're sitting, well, definitely the seats you're sitting on now, the covers of those seats is oil-based. The cars that brought you here today are driven by fossil fuels, oil-based again. And you might say, what's wrong with that? What's the problem? Well, oil is a very toxic substance in our environment, in our world. And we've set up an economy, a lifestyle around a very, very toxic substance. Now, last year, I was in India on the Delhi tip. Now, the Delhi tip is absolutely massive. It's a filthy, disgusting, acrid wasteland of oil-based pollution, oil-based rubbish, mostly plastic. And on this massive dump, there's millions, thousands, millions of people trying to sustain an existence, to live, to eke out a life on this toxic, oil-based dump. There's grandmas, grandpa, mum and dad, and all the kids desperately trying to seek a life in this toxic waste. So I ask ourselves a question. I ask you a question. Do we keep living this lifestyle with our oil-based economy, with our oil-based situation, where we pollute our water, we pollute our food, we've got pollution in the air? Do we live this lifestyle and pass it on from generation to generation for our children to come? So standing on the Delhi tip, looking at this mess, this plastic toxic mess, it touched my heart. I cried. I cried for humanity, for the environment, for our children. And I said to myself, there's no way humans can live and exist like this. We can't live in this toxic mess. So when I go home, when I get back to Ballingen, I'm going to grow hemp, industrial hemp. So nowadays, to grow industrial hemp legally, you need to get a licence from the Department of Primary Industry, the government. To grow a perfectly natural, beautiful, fantastic vegetable, you need a licence. So I obtained a licence, and I've leased myself a piece of land, and I've got a beautiful, fantastic 1960 red International tractor, and it does the job just fantastically. So I'm now a hemp farmer. I grow hemp. When we grow the hemp and we harvest the hemp and we process the hemp, there's four main parts of the hemp plant. The first part of the hemp plant is the seeds. There's the seeds, the fibre, the base, and the herd of the hemp plant. The seeds of the hemp plant are the best source of food from a plant that humans can get. The best protein we can have. It has the omega-6, 3 and 9 in perfect balance for the human body and all the catalysts in the human body to receive it. It's a wonderful food. And then we have the fibre of this fantastic plant. The longest fibre, the strongest fibre, the most durablest fibre on the planet. And from that, we can make our textiles. We can make cardboards, we can make paper, we can make packaging, we can make our clothes. These clothes I'm wearing right now are long-lasting and durable. They're 100% hemp. And they'll probably see me out, I reckon. And then we have the base of the plant. which is the internal woody section of the plant. And with this we can make our building materials. We can make a cement, a concrete, we can make building blocks, we can make wall panels, particle boards, we can make insulation, we can make fiberglass substitutes, and it goes on and on. That part of the plant will sustain all our buildings. And then we have the herd, the middle of the plant, the pithy part of the plant, where we can make our putties, our paints, our solvents, our glues, and most of all, plastic. The most fantastic plastic on this planet. The strongest biodegradable plastic. Just think about, guys, how many times in your day do you touch oil-based toxic plastic? It's in our lives everywhere. We don't need that. We can make this from hemp. So hemp is a fantastic, the champion plant of the planet. So we look forward to our future like the indigenous people, the old people gone by, with a deep and abiding respect for the planet and for our children. They cast their mind forward to where is our future. And myself and my dear friend Hilary Hemp, we have a dream and a vision. So let's grow hemp. Let's go back to the future. Let's create a plant-based economy on a plant-based planet. Thank you.